Hello and welcome to Knowledge by Nature. It is curriculum season, which means that we are going to be diving into some curriculums. This was sent to me by Common Sense Press, and this is Learning Language Arts Through Literature. And this is our third year using this curriculum. Now, before we get into it, let's talk about who is this going to be for. For starters, this is an all-in-one curriculum. So if you are looking for a curriculum that is going to cover grammar, vocabulary, spelling, reading skills, creative writing, research, higher order reasoning, and all of that also kind of giving you like a Charlotte Mason vibe, this is going to be for you. This is a really nice curriculum. Now, this is a TAN book, which means grade 6. They don't really put numbers on their things. They do them by grade. So last year it was the purple book. The year before that for 4th grade was the orange book. And we can look in a little bit to see exactly what all of those are. But I have 2 books here. You do not have to have both of them. If you so chose, you could only get the teacher's book and you could do the prompts and do all of those things yourself. You do not have to have that. So you can get this. Another reason you may want this is because of how inexpensive this program is. Like I mentioned before, it is all in one. It is quite inexpensive considering how much this program offers you. And as I said, reading skills, creative writing, research. It also has book studies in here. So you're getting 4 book studies for an incredible price, in my opinion, as far as they cover some excellent material. All right, now, so you can go super inexpensive and just get the teacher's book, or you can get both. For me, I would suggest both. One, everything is already in the student book for you. You do not have to write it out. You do not have to make copies. The student can follow along with you because there's different sections where they're having the teacher read it and then the student read it. I would say get it. Now, this is a hefty book too. Like you can see, this is chock full of good stuff. And there are also additional, they call it enrichment. You're going to get enrichment included in this that you're not going to have in this section right here. So let's dive into this teacher's book. That way, if you don't want the student book, I don't waste any more of your time and you can look at this teacher's book. Now, even though I wouldn't be considered a Charlotte Mason teacher or homeschool, I do really like the way that this is set up. I am what I would consider eclectic. I pull in all sorts of stuff, whatever I feel fits her the best. And this right here has really fit us well for multiple seasons of our life. This is also a great program if you need that student to be independent, because there's a lot that they can just kind of go and do on their own. And I'm sure in this TAN edition, which is your 6th grade, we may see that a little bit more. Really quickly, let's zoom up here. That way, if you want this for maybe another student, you see this, you're really interested, and you want to see another one, you can look up specifically the color. So let's look. The blue book is 1st grade, red book is 2nd, yellow book is 3rd, orange is 4th, purple is 5th, tan is 6th, green is 7th, gray is 8th, and then we have 4 gold books that are teaching high school skills, which is world literature, American literature, British literature, and literary criticism. Really quickly, before I forget to mention this, this isn't secular, but it's also not religious either. There are a few mentionings. There might be a quote in there that maybe someone quoted the scripture. Last year, there was a little bit of talk about an author that was a Christian and things like that. In my experience, there may be a few things sprinkled in, but it is not heavy. I think maybe there is one maybe in the later grade that it would be a little bit heavier, but so far in my experience, it has not been heavily religious. There have been some sprinklings here and there, but nothing that was overly strong or anything like that. All right, we have a quick introduction here where we're doing an integrated approach. They're not just going to teach grammar. Grammar is going to be worked in with our writing and our reading and all sorts of different thinking skills. We have our penmanship, our thinking skills, spelling tips that are going to be included, and then how to use this book. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it does have some dictation it does have some Charlotte Mason feel to me. So we have this dictation that we're going to be working through where the student is going to read the entire passage and then they're going to dictate it back one sentence at a time. We have book studies. So these are optional book studies also, which is really nice. So we have 36 weekly lessons and then we have 4 novels throughout the year. And I'm going to talk about what those 4 novels are, in addition to something that you can get from their website, which is Common Sense Press. There is an extra little printout that you can find that I had never found until this year, but it's on their site, and it's when you go to the Tan Book section, there is a little link on book studies that you can do. So I will put the link down below as far as go to their site to this specific one, and you will find the little box that says book studies. And so that's really, really nice.
Just really quickly, we are going to look at the book study reading guide. So you can see this is for the Tan book. And you can scroll down and it shows you that the books that are listed here go with the Tan book, and it's the 36 weekly lessons. So if you wanted to use this for the 36 weeks, it kind of tells you how to break those weeks up. So it talks about how they'll review the vocabulary words and learn to interpret word meanings. And then you can go down here, and if we were going to read this book right here, it says that it is a suggested reading plan of 14 days, but can be assigned for your schedule. And you can see we've got day 1, read chapter 1 and 2. We've got the question. And so it just breaks you down a little bit on like when to do the vocabulary, when to do the parts of the ship, when to maybe talk about some of the other vocabulary words, as well as kind of a synopsis of what is going to be happening, talking about the discussion questions. So I just wanted to quickly throw that in here so you can see how it's not like a super detailed thing. It doesn't have all the questions or anything like that in here, but it does give you a breakdown of the days just in case you're interested. And again, go to Common Sense Press, look for your book study reading guide.
We do have review activities that are done throughout the book. We have 4 assessments which are provided throughout the program. We have an appendix. Which includes the enrichment answers, which the enrichments are in the student book, but they're not in the teacher's book. But the answers to the enrichment is in the teacher's book. So if you're looking for answers for those enrichments, they are in this book. All right, we have our skills index, we have our prefixes and our suffixes, and then we have our bibliographies here. Our enrichment answers, it is just telling us again that what I just said is that you're going to find them in this book, although none of those activities are in this book. We have a skills index, and then again, our bibliography that we talked about right here. These are the optional book studies. So let's zoom in. So because they are optional, you can do them, you can not do them, you can use part of them, however you want to do, but we have our Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. We have the Bronze Bow, Big Red, the Horse and His Boy. Now, personally, for us, we will skip some of these just because we have already read The Horse and His Boy last year together. So I don't think we will do that. We will be doing lots of other book studies. And so I do want to do the Bronze Bow, though. However, I think that might be in one of my other ones. And Big Red, I definitely want to do Big Red. Honestly, I'm going to have to look on this Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I will have to look at that one to know exactly if that's something I want to do or not. Now, while I said you can have the teacher's book without the student book, you can't have the student book without the teacher's book. So it says right here, the student activity book is not intended for use without its companion, the teacher book. But it does tell us that you can use the teacher book without the student book. Okay, so we have our lesson 1s coming down through here where we are beginning with the taming of the shrew. Lesson 2, lesson 3 is Bambi, how cute. Lesson 4, the eagle, and then we come to a book study. So you can see right here that our book study is going on at between lessons 4 and 5. Now, the way that I have found that you can do book studies is that you can continue to work through this and do a book study at the same time. Maybe set aside a day or two for some certain activities if you wanted to, but I have found that you don't have to like just stop the lessons. You can keep going. Here you see we have an assessment of lessons 1 through 9. So everything that was covered in this section is going to be covered in an assessment here. Then we come down through here, we have 10 through 13. Then we have another book study, The Bronze Bow, where we have some more lessons before we go to an assessment. Now these lessons are set up for like day 1 of a week. So lesson 1 is going to last a whole week, lesson 2 is going to last a whole week, and so on. Then we have our lesson 20 where we're doing a book study, and we just keep going. Now you're seeing a lot of names and titles here, and that doesn't really tell you so much of what they're teaching, and we're gonna look at that when we look at the skills index. One of the biggest things that I have noticed so far with this is that usually there would be a cover sheet right here that would say The Taming of the Shrew. And it would tell you the subjects and the topics that were going to be covered in this lesson. I haven't even really got into this yet, and I miss that because I would often go to that section and be like, oh yes, I actually want to cover that, and so that's what we're going to do. Now, yes, it's still in here. It is still in the back of the book here. And they cover a lot, but I really do miss that top cover. Let's see, I think there's one in here that maybe has a cover. So like this is a cover. We have book study A is talking about that. Now that would normally have something that we're going to be studying or we're going to be talking about. Same thing if we found another one. Right here, the Gettysburg Address. This is towards the end. Used to, there were the skills that we were working on and we were learning. So I'm super bummed that that's gone actually because I liked that a lot. I found that incredibly useful. So this says that it is the 3rd edition, which is, I believe, the other editions that I had. So I don't know if this is just something different going forward or what exactly, if it's just this specific one. But let's quickly look at the things that we're going to be learning because honestly, we want to know, what are we going to be learning in this book, right? All right, we are at the back of the book right now, and so we have all the enrichment answers. So again, all those enrichments are going to be over there in the student book. But let's look over here on the skill index, okay? The numbers and letters listed after each skill refer to the lesson number and the book study. So we have our book studies, A, B, C, and D. And then you can see we're going to be doing some advertisement in 22, analogies in The Horse and His Boy, autobiography in lesson 17. Then we come down here, creative writing. We're working with that for 2, 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, 19. All of these weeks here, we are working on creative writing. Dictation, we're working with all of those. We have essays that we're going to be working on. We have figurative language for 3 and 4, a friendly letter, 5 and 26. Journaling, we're going to do that in book study A, and we're going to visit it again on lesson 21. Main idea, what I'll do is I'll get this nice and close up for you so that you can pause it. Now, if you'd like, you can pause the screen and look and see at all of the things that they are talking about. Now, this is specifically on composition, if you'll notice that up at the top. That way, if you're looking for something specific, you can see how often it's going to be talked about and if it is going to be talked about. Now, let's go over here where we are talking about all of the grammar. So I'll scooch it back just a little bit here. These are all of the topics that we're going to be talking about related to grammar. Remember, grammar is not a separate subject. It is integrated into the program, and you can see how many things are talked about grammar and how often they are talked about. All right, up next is our reading section. So again, I will pause. I will get this all kind of lined up for you, so hopefully you can get a nice pause. Let me see if I can scooch this. All right, I'm trying to get it close enough so you can see everything while also still being able to see it clearly. So this is all of the subjects that are going to be talked about for our reading section. You can see there's lots of prefixes and suffixes in each of the levels that in each of the lessons that those will be talked about. We've got personification, plot, point of view, lots and lots of topics. For this level for spelling, these are the spelling skills that they're going to be working on. Again, all of the numbers coordinate with the lesson, And up next is our study skills. So we're going to be working with the dictionary, interview, library, map skills, memorization, timelines. All of these subjects are going to be talked about in this all-in-one curriculum. Quickly look here at the back since we are here. We're at the appendix where it is showing us all the prefixes and the definitions that are kind of going with those, as well as another page before we come over to our suffixes. So this would be really nice to, if it's not included in the student book, to make a copy of for your student, just so that they have all of those. If I can get my fingers to work. And then that is the end of the suffix page. Now let's go back to the beginning really quickly. All right, let's go to a lesson 1. And I kind of want to put side by side. All right, let's go to lesson 1 here, and I want to go side by side with our student book. Another small pet peeve I have with this is that because you can see this is much thicker than this one, we aren't always on the same page, which would be really nice if I could just tell her to turn to turn to page, whatever, and then we would both be on the same page. Well, it's not like that. That is something that's always just been a little bit annoying, but the reason it doesn't work like that is because this is their notebook. It is their workbook. It has space for them to write, where the teacher's book is more minimal. It doesn't have the extra spacing. So it's a small complaint, and honestly, I probably gripe more about having to carry this around as a teacher's book than me being off a page or two every once in a while. So you can see that if we go side by side here, the one on the right is the student book, the one on the left is the teacher's book. Notice really quickly, I have a margin over here with teacher's notes where they have a full page and writing sections. So we come out with our first literature piece and we're going to read together. This is broken out by days, and the days are not overwhelming. It is really easy to honestly do multiple days in a day if you so wish. If you want to like speed up a few days, you missed some, you want to kind of catch up, it's easy to do because most days are not overwhelming. Trying my best to get these both in the picture so that you can see here. Here is our lesson 1. So we are only on section C right here. I've turned the page. I didn't even need to turn the page yet because I'm not even on section C. So this is section C where we're talking about all of this. Now I have section D, which I am picking up right here. So we're talking about prefixes, and then we are coming to day 2. So we will stop here for the day and then day 2. Day 2, we're working through this section here, and then you can see we have day 3 starting over here. So it's not a lot. It's very easy. We have all of our notes on the teacher's side over here on each one, also with those answers. So if we need to answer a section over here, it has what they might need to write right here, or what they might need to circle or underline, anything like that. It's got your answers. This is a 5-day program, so if we keep flipping, you can see we have day 4, day 5, or we would have a review activity. Now, the review activities, a lot of times it is telling you to do that in day 5, so let's go over here to the teacher's book again. Looking closer at the teacher's book here, you can see on day 4, we've got some enrichment here. Again, there's nothing here for us to see what their optional enrichment is. You'll have to go to the student book, but it is listed there as a reminder that, hey, this is available that day. Day 5, we're doing some writing here, and it's also telling you to take a written or oral spelling test. Most of the time, we didn't ever do the spelling out of this section because we are doing a separate spelling. However, if the spelling ever kind of looped in, if the spelling ever overlapped, we would do it. So if they happen to be talking about the same thing that we were talking about that week, we would go ahead and do their spelling work. Most of the time, that didn't happen, but there were occasions where we did it. Then it says choose skills from the review activities. So we see that we have a whole page of review. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's about like this. And so you can either have them do it all that day, you can save it for another day. Really, it would be up to you, but you can see that they are suggesting that you pull just a few of the review activities out for them to do. Ones that they need to do. If you know they have it, skip it and then just start your lesson 2 on the next week. So again, this is a 5-day schedule with each lesson being a week. Now, since this talked about optional enrichment on day 4 of lesson 1, let's see what would be included for that. Day 4, enrichment. Unscramble these letters to make words that are synonyms. So you can see that we would unscramble, it would be big, and you would make a synonym, and then they would write that in. Now, the answers for these are going to be in the teacher's book in the back. You're not going to have any of this in the teacher's book except the answers. This honestly follows the same thing. It's very, very open and go. So that's another thing. If you need an all-in-one curriculum, if you need something that is inexpensive, if you need something that your child can do pretty independently, if you need something that this can be an open and go, you don't need a lot of preparation to get started, this is what you're after, this learning language arts through literature. And it's going to follow the same sequence every week, which makes it so nice. You have your literature passage, you have day 1 with some spelling tips here, you have a day 2, you have a day 3. Here we see day 3 is continuing over for a little bit longer. Our day 4, lots of space for your kid to write. Most of the time, I don't find that we need more space. There has been a time or two where we pulled out another piece of paper just because she was writing overly big. But for the most part, this has been enough space for her to write the answers. Here we have another enrichment. It says read each phrase below and fill in the blank with an appropriate noun. So I don't feel like the enrichments are always like a necessary thing, but they are fun. They are enriching, as it is saying. And then we have another review. Now let's look at a book study. As I was looking for a book study, I noticed that we have this I Can assessment, and I forgot to mention that. At the end, they will have a little section sometimes where they will have an I Can section, and it's for them to kind of look back and think about, can I do what I needed to do for this program? So here is our first book study, and this is Carry On, Mr. Bowditch, side by side with our teacher's book and our student's book. We have a summary here. So it is an introduction to what the book is about and a summary about this book. So if you don't know anything about it, like me, I'm not sure what this one is, it will kind of tell you what it is. We have the vocabulary words that are going to be used, and then we have discussion questions. Now, the sheet that I'm telling you about that you can find on their site, it breaks it down a little bit like, hey, this day read this and this. And then it already has the questions kind of filled out for you, so you can print it out, and then it is available for them. So for sure, if you're not using the student book, check out the site that I'm talking about where you can get this from. It goes through the 24 chapters. Then we have all of the question and answers here at the bottom. For this time, we are looking at the activities of journal writing, parts of a ship, and mapping skills. Then there is a journal writing, parts of the ship where they are labeling the parts of the ship. We have some mapping skills where we have different voyages that we're going to be taking, the answers for us on those voyages, and then the I Can assessment. So that is the teacher's book. Let's look at the same thing with our student text. So we have our workbook here. We've got some vocabulary words that they're going to be working for. Sometimes I will introduce the vocabulary beforehand. Sometimes I will wait until we kind of get to that chapter. That is up to you. There's not a whole lot of indication on when you should use that, so it leaves it more up to you. This is kind of fun, using the definition of the vocabulary words, match the words. We have a crossword puzzle with the discussion questions. Even seeing how the discussion questions are done here, I would print off that other thing probably. And then that way they have it and they can write it in another notebook or something like that. The journal writing, and it says, after completing activity 3, the mapping skills, use one of the journeys to create a journal entry as if you were Nate writing in one of his notebooks, and that's probably Nat, not Nate. Then we have our parts of the ship that they're going to be doing. I can see where you could really find some fun things to do with this. Maybe instead of doing the parts of the ship, you could build a ship. That could be really cool. And then at the end here, we have the I Can assessment. And the last thing I want to look at here is an actual assessment. There are 4 of them in this book, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Is there 4 or is there 4 book studies? Now I'm not sure. I'm doubting myself. Hold on. Yes. Okay, 4 assess. Yes, 4 assessments. So let's just go to assessment 3 where we're doing lessons 19 through 27. That is page 289. This is all black and white, no color in it. I feel like it's bound very well. I haven't had any problems keeping it all together. I know people have asked in the past if they are going to offer them as spiral bounds, things like that. That would be a little bit nice, actually, as much as I don't like spiral bounds for the student book. I think that would be really nice. All right, we are looking at assessment number 3. Circle the adjectives in the following sentence. Using your thesaurus, rewrite the above sentence, replacing the adjectives with synonyms. Arrange the following in outline form. So it has a list, and it is having them list that in an outline form. Our next question is rewrite the first 2 sentences of the literature passage in lesson 20 as if someone else were telling the story third person. Write a sentence using to, and to. How are pronouns used? List at least 3 pronouns that show possession. Rewrite the following phrases using possessive nouns. Find at least 3 prepositional phrases in the literature passage in lesson 20. Copy the following, making corrections in capitalization and punctuation. Write a word with a prefix con. Write a word with a suffix. And then we have choose the right word to complete each sentence. Then write a word with another prefix. Then that is the end of that assessment. All right, hopefully that has been a good flip through, kind of letting you know what you're going to get if you get this program. So just to reiterate one more time, what kind of family I feel like this is going to be for. It is going to be for a family that is looking for an all-in-one, or at least mostly an all-in-one. Like you might be like us and not use the spelling section. Maybe you want to use this as a little bit extra practice. I think that would be fantastic. You're looking for something that's not very expensive. This is really, it's a very, very fairly priced. And then you've got the 4 book studies on top of that. If you go on Teachers Pay Teachers, you're going to rack up that much for a book study if you find 4 different books. It is integrating the grammar. It is gentle. I don't think it is overly complicated. It is very nice for this level that it is for. You're eclectic, so you like to pull in a little bit of Charlotte Mason here and there. This is a great way for that to kind of like get the ball rolling. If you're not very Charlotte Mason, but you like the concept of the dictation and all of that, it's in here. Do you have to do every bit of it? No. Is this really easy to get more than 1 lesson a day? Yes. That is another. They're short lessons. If you don't want to drag things on, short lessons. If you want to be able to catch up quickly, you can do that. There's a lot of flexibility and freedom with this curriculum. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I find that this is the absolute perfect curriculum for us when we are in a very busy season of our life, when I don't want to have to pull a million other things. I just want to get language arts covered. This is it. I really, really have enjoyed our other levels. I'm looking forward to this one as well. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. If you're interested in any of the other levels, I do have the purple and the orange. I'll try to put those down in the description below. And again, be sure and check out that book study that is for all the levels. The purple one has it too, I believe. So be sure and just you go to the website and you click on the book that you're wanting, and then you scroll to the little tab. So I know curriculum shopping can be quite difficult. I hope this has given you a good flip through of what you're going to get covered in this book. So if you have any questions, put them down below. If you found this video helpful, I would love if you consider giving me that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you want to keep following along. See you in my next one. Bye.